Guest speaker today is Ted Mercer. He will be speaking about his view of leadership, which came from decades of leadership experience. Mr. Mercer served in the U.S. Air Force for over 32 years, holding command 7 times from the squadron to the wing level, and achieving the rank of Major General before retiring in 2008. Following his esteemed military career, Mr. Mercer held a leadership position in the private sector, serving as the Vice President and Director of a division of Excelis, where he was responsible for government and industry partnerships and international initiatives. In April of 2016, Mr. Mercer joined the Federal Aviation Administration, where he is the Director of the Interagency Planning Office for the Next Generation Air Transportation System, or otherwise known as NextGen. As the Director of the Interagency Planning Office, he provides high-level leadership for interagency and international collaboration related to NextGen. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Mercer.
Thank you. Thanks, Kim. Well, thank you very much. It is a privilege for me to be with you today. I'm honored that you would ask me to come and share some thoughts with you today on leadership. I got to tell you, though, this is Health and Human Services, right? Okay, all right. This is the first time I've ever been over here. And the first time I've been over here, I was expecting something a little different for lunch than Snickers bar and water. But I thought you guys were healthy over here. Y'all eat health food or something. No, just kidding, just kidding. That's usually my lunch, by the way, is a Snickers bar and a Coke. It's a combat lunch, we call it. But anyway, it's a privilege to be with you today and share some thoughts, my thoughts on leadership. As Kim kind of alluded to, I know a little bit about it. I will tell you that leadership is a journey. It's not a destination. You never really get there. That much I will tell you. You're constantly learning, constantly evolving, constantly dealing with different generations and the characteristics of those generations. To include your own, whatever generation you happen to be in, whether that's a baby boomer, Generation X, or Generation Z now is about to enter the workforce. So it really doesn't matter. It's a journey. It's not a destination. You never really get there. I've done a little bit of it over the past 40 years. 32 years in the Air Force, almost 10 years in industry. And in addition to running their global initiatives, I also had profit and loss responsibility for a $350 million business up in Rochester, New York, their intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance business. So, I've done a little bit of this leadership thing. So what I'm going to share with you are my views. And please, they are my thoughts. You can take them, you can use them, you can discard them. It's not going to hurt my feelings one bit. What I will tell you is what has worked for me. That much I will share with you. And what I have found is leadership works no matter whether you are in government, whether you are in industry, whether you're in the private sector in some way. Leadership works. Why? Because leadership is about people. It's about people. It doesn't matter about the organization. It doesn't matter whether you're government. It doesn't matter whether you're industry. All it means is your goals are different. The things you're trying to achieve is different. But you got to do it through people. And that's what leadership is about. Leading and motivating people to achieve goals and to grow to meet their personal goals. So these are my thoughts. And I hope you find some of them instructive. I hope you'll take some of them, use the ones you think that are relevant, discard the ones that you don't care much about. Next slide. Okay, I found this years ago, and it struck me the longer that I was in the business and leading people, the more I found it to be true. And as a leader, you better focus on this from the very beginning, because you will decide what kind of leader you're going to be. Are you going to be a leader that is concerned about taking your organization to the next level and then the next level after that? Or are you a leader that's going to be Mr. Authoritarian, Miss Autocratic, Miss Do what I tell you to do, I have all the answers, and all you need to do is follow? I will tell you that one will achieve greatness in an organization and one will not. They both will get the job done to some degree, but one will not and one will take you to the next level and the next level after that. But it all begins here. Watch your thoughts. Be careful of what you think, because your thoughts will become words at some point. Be careful about your words, because then you turn words many times into actions. Be careful of your habits, because your habits will evolve into your character. And then watch your character, because it will eventually become your destiny. I have seen this work in a positive way, and I've seen the converse too. If you want to be an effective leader, you want to be a good leader, you decide that you want to be the best leader you can be, remember this. This will help you to do that. Next one. Understand your workforce. If you're going to lead and motivate people, you got to understand them. You got to understand what motivates them. You got to understand what leads them, what their motivation is, and then how you motivate them. See, you heard us talk about the different generations, right? Think about this for a minute. In my day, when I was coming up, I'm one of the old baby boomers. When I was coming up, for an individual to have body piercings and tattoos, oh my God, they were outlaws. They were outside society, right? They were not dedicated. They were not committed to serving this nation. They were outlaws. You just didn't do that, right? Look at the generation today. Generation X today. Look at the generation. Look at the millennials today. You will not find, and I'll stake it. I'll stake on this. You will not, high 90th percentile of millennials will have either a body piercing or a tattoo or both. And I don't mean earrings for the ladies. You will have a tattoo, a body piercing, or both. What does that mean? Nothing. It's a function of their culture. It doesn't mean that they're not dedicated. It doesn't mean that they're not committed. It doesn't mean that they don't believe in the organization they're working for. But if you're going to lead and motivate them, you got to understand that. You can't take your baby boomer bias to deal with millennials. You got to understand your workforce if you are to motivate them, if you are to effectively lead them. Know your workforce. Understand your workforce. And as Generation Z now starts to join us, right, you're going to have like 3 or 4 generations of people in your workforce that work for you. And if you're going to lead and motivate them, you got to understand them. Don't judge. Understand. Next. Management versus leadership. You can read a whole multitude of leadership books. I'll give you some ideas at the end, the kind of stuff that I read. But in all those books, you'll find a definition of leadership. They'll tell you what leadership is. Let me tell you that through all of my experience, I will tell you that you manage things, but you must lead people. You cannot, from a military perspective, manage people into harm's way. You cannot, from a business perspective, get revenue, top line and bottom line growth by managing to it. If you are involved with people, you got to lead. You lead people, but you manage things. You manage budgets. You manage supplies. You manage organizations. You manage equipment. You manage buildings. You manage tables. You manage stuff. But you must lead people. Next. Any of those books you read will give you a definition of leadership. Any one you want to read, they'll tell you that this is what leadership is. Take it with a grain of salt. Your experience, your background will help you define what leadership means to you. That's the only relevant definition. Leadership to me, my definition of leadership that has evolved with me is as follows. Leadership is the ability to create a vision, establish goals then to achieve the vision, and then motivate people in a positive way to achieve the goals. That's what leadership is to me. Why is positive motivation so important? Because positive motivation will allow you to do a couple of things. You can do the work of 10 with 6 if you motivate in a positive way. I have done it. Lead and motivate in a positive way. If you motivate and lead in a positive way when the chips are down, and you have worked your workforce for the last 7 days for 23 hours out of each one of those days, And now you need another day, another 23-hour day, be the 8th day. And you say, I need you to support this. If you have motivated in a positive way, they will be there for you. If you haven't, they're going to be too tired. They're going to be worn out. They're going to be unable to perform. They're going to be sick. Motivate in a positive way. One of the things that might be a little different about the presentation than some others you've received is that I'm going to give you examples, real world examples. These things actually happened to me, and this is how I dealt with them. So I'll share those with you as we go along. So motivating in a positive way, doing the work of 6 with 10. When I was the operations group commander up in Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. You know, they say, why not Minot? Reason's the reason. So I'm the operations group commander. I'm 60% manned in my security forces arena. The inspector general has come out to conduct a national security inspection, NSI. Every nuclear unit has to pass that. In order, that is your license to operate as a nuclear unit. Failure to do that, and those weapons come off of the alert status, and everybody gets briefed all the way up to the president. It's not a pleasant experience. So we're out. Part of that inspection is security forces personnel have to go out, and bad guys have taken over one of our missile complexes, and the good guys got to go out and take it back. Well, I have a young female security forces troop. I swear she ain't no more than 5 feet 1 inches tall. Short lady. She was an M60 machine gunner. And you have to understand a little bit about the M60. M60 machine gun is about 5 feet tall when you put it on the ground, right? So the weapon is about as big as she is, weighs about 35, 40 pounds. When you fire it regularly, the barrel gets red hot. You have to do a procedure called a barrel change. So she's out, she's firing on the site. They're trying to take it back. Remember, this is Minot, North Dakota in the wintertime. Snow is this high, literally. So they're down and she's going and she drops that thing and she's fired. And the evaluator and myself were standing over to the side watching her do this. She gets down on one knee. The evaluator comes over and says, your barrel is red hot. You need to do a barrel change. They carry a little asbestos glove with them. She reached back, got that glove, put it in her hand, slapped that, took her hand and did the snow this way, kicked it that way, put that weapon down, changed the barrel, and commenced to fire. The IG evaluator standing next to me, honest to God, turned to me and said, damn, she was that good. You can do the work of 10 with 6. We came out of that rating with an excellent rating in performance. Motivate in a positive way. Next. Be everywhere at once. Look and see. Look and see. They are different. So what do I mean by that? Be everywhere at once. You as a leader must lend an impression that you are everywhere in your organization, that you touch every part of your organization. Can you do that physically, be everywhere at once? No, you can't. But that's not what's important. What's important are, do you lend that impression? That you know what every part of your organization does, that you know what every individual in your organization contributes, and that you get an opportunity to witness it firsthand. Another story, I am now the commander of Wittenberg Air Force Base, the 30th Space Wing. We launch rockets and satellites. That Wittenberg is the 3rd largest base in the entire United States Air Force. It's so large you can put the city of Washington, D.C. twice inside its borders. It has 35 miles of coastline, pristine California coastline on the base. Huge installation. So as you might imagine, there are a lot of places where you gain entry and access, right? Guard facilities that control access to and from the base. Wittenberg is also a natural preserve. Huge plants and flowers and overgrowth. So I'm out one night, 4 o'clock in the morning. I go by to see my 24-hour work center. So I go by to see the guards at the gates. It's dark, 4:30 in the morning. I get out to one of the gates, and like I said, these little guard shacks are out in the middle of kind of nowhere. And there's foliage and trees and brush and underbrush all around them. And Wittenberg's pretty warm at night, and they got really bright lights outside the guard shack. So you put a lot of foliage, you put a lot of warmth, and really bright lights, and what are you going to get? bugs, bugs. So I go out there and I pull up to the gate, and there's a young airman in there, young kid, 19 years old, and he's out and he's eating, trying to eat his food, and he's trying to flick the bugs out of his food the part he wants to eat. So I pull up to him and I ask him, I said, well, when was the last time your flight supervisor was out here? He said, oh, sir, he was just out here a few minutes ago. He brought me the food. He said he was thinking about me. He brought me the food to eat. I said, well, what did he say about the bugs? He said, oh, sir, he didn't say anything about the bugs. I said, really? So I called the support group commander up. I said, we got a real bad bug problem out here. I said, I want entomology to play 100 yards around this shack within the next 24 hours, and I want you to go take the credit card, go to the Walmart, Sam's, wherever you want to go, get 4 of the biggest bug zappers you can find, put them on each corner of those guard shacks, and let's help solve this young airman's bug problem. Support group commander, yes, sir, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. So what do? What do you do? Next morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm back out there. Same airman is there. You know, he's like, yes, sir. How you doing, sir? You want a post briefing? No, I don't need a post briefing. I said, how the bugs? He said, well, sir, bugs are still there. No bug zappers are up. Nobody has sprayed for the bugs around there. Now I'm pissed. I get the support group commander on the phone. I said, okay, what happened to the bugs? Well, sir, this excuse, that excuse, this excuse. I said, okay, here it is. If it's not done by tomorrow, the airman will be home and you'll be in the gate tomorrow. He said, yes, sir, I'll take care of it. Next morning, I go out there. That young airman, that young 19-year-old American, somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, he's smiling from ear to ear. Smiling from ear to ear because he's not picking bugs out of his food. Now, his flight supervisor, great guy, was concerned about him, brought his troops some food. He looked, but he didn't see. Another example for industry. You know, in industry, it's you live on proposals, right? Generating proposals. And so we're generating a proposal. We're crashing and burning to get it out the door because we got to make the suspense. And we noticed that our admin specialist, young woman, she keeps leaning over and she's doing her back like that, and she gets back to it some more, and then she leans back and she gets back at it some more. So we get the proposal launched, and I went to a supervisor and said, hey, have you asked Mary what the issue is with her back? Have you got her to the ergonomics people or new chair? He says, what do you mean? Nothing wrong with her back. What do you mean something wrong with her back? I said, well, you didn't notice that she was having pain in her back? I said, let's go talk to Mary. So we went down and talked to Mary. She said, oh, yes, sir. It's been bothering me for weeks now. I think I need a new chair, she says. So we got her to the ergonomics people, and we got this issue resolved. Really a pretty simple issue, which was part of it was a new chair, getting her a new ergonomic chair. Her supervisor cared about her, he thought about her, but he didn't look and see. If you want to be effective as a leader, you must look and see. Be everywhere at once. Kipling said, a superb leader is the one that has the ability to walk with kings, but never lose touch with the common man. Never lose touch with the common man. Next. Build a team. Diversity is your strength. It is the strength of America, and it is the strength of any organization you put together. It is what makes us unpredictable as a nation. It's what makes us unpredictable as an organization, as a government entity. Build diversity. Look for talent. Look for people that don't look like you. That's okay. Look for talent. Look for skills. Look for what they bring to the table. Diversity is your strength. Never lose sight of it. Not if you will choose to be an effective leader that wants to take the organization to the next level. That is your choice. Next one. Treat all with respect and dignity. Next. Establish an environment for all to reach their full potential. We've heard a lot in the news about people that in leadership roles, power roles. Lost sight of that. You don't lose sight of that. Next. No discrimination or sexual harassment. You cannot tolerate it. If you tolerate it, it will flow through your organization, and it will destroy, cripple, or break it. You cannot allow it. And it's you as the leader that has to stand up and be sure that that is the culture and the environment of your organization. Do not allow it. Or if you do, you are complacent in it. Next. I have two mottos. I've taken them everywhere I've gone the last 40 years. I believe them, and they work for me. You establish your own if you think they're important to you. But if you want something clear and succinct that your organization and your people will grasp quickly and readily, establish one. I have two. Positive energy is a force multiplier. You can do the work of 10 with 6. If you believe it, you can achieve it. It can be done. Maybe not the way you thought, but it can be done. Next. Know your people's strengths and weaknesses. You have an obligation as a leader to know what people are bringing to the table on your team, no matter how large your team is. You got to know their strengths if you are to exploit them. You got to know their strengths if you are to bring them to the table. But you also got to know their weaknesses, because you have an obligation also of enhancing and growing your workforce, identifying those that can replace you someday and who that might be. So if you understand their strengths, you know their weaknesses, you can do what you need to do to improve their weaknesses, to turn them to strengths. This is forgotten about by a lot of leaders today. They don't think it's their responsibility to know the strengths and weaknesses of people. That's HR's job. No, that's your job. Next one. Push responsibility to the lowest level. This is another one that people struggle with today. You know, there are those that are leaders or bosses or organizational heads that say, here's what I want you to do, here's how I want you to do it. You know, the trouble with that is that there are young, bright minds out there that work for you, talent that they are bringing to the table. You want to use it and get it on the table. But if you're going to tell them how to do everything you want them to do, you're not going to see it. Tell them what you need to have done. Tell them when you need it. And they will surprise you with their ingenuity. They'll put things together that you never thought could be put together. Tell them what, not how. And that's tough for some leaders. It's tough for some leaders. Some leaders say, well, I know this way works, this is the way I want you to go and do it. Not realizing that 2 years ago, there was a better, smarter, more efficient way to do it. And that young millennial out there has got it and knows it. But if you don't allow them to do it, you'll never see it reveal itself. Next one. There's no substitute for honesty and integrity in our business. Absolutely none. If you think that it is, look around you at what's happening in the world today. Look at what's happening in other organizations. Look at what's happening in industry. There's no substitute for it. It is what allows risk-taking in the business world. It's what allows trust in the government. That your people will trust that you have their best interest at heart. Without that, they won't trust you no more than they can see you. No substitute for honesty and integrity. Next. Lead by example. You lead from the front. You cannot lead from the rear or in the middle. You got to lead from the front. If you think I'm kidding, take a board, put it at a 45-degree angle, put a string on it, and push that string up the board. Or you can go around to the other end of it, get in front of it, and pull it up the board, and it'll go pretty smoothly. Lead by example. Be what you want your team to be. Act the way you want your team to act. Because I will tell you, and that's on and off duty, because they will see you when you don't know they see you. They will observe you when they don't know, when you don't know they're observing you. Be what you want them to be. Next. Stand for what's right. You all have a moral compass. You all have a gut that tells you what's right or wrong. Do what's right. Do the right thing for the right reason. Why is the right reason so important? Because it goes to the trust of your people. Do the right thing. Listen to your gut. Stand up for what you believe. Stand up for what you believe to be right. Now, that's easy to say. That's easy to say. It's a lot harder to do when you've been in the organization for 20 years, 25 years. You're married now. You got the big mortgage on the house. You got 3 kids getting ready to go to college. It's tougher now. True story. The operations group commander up in Minot. And we have a requirement to deploy security forces person over to in the area of Khobar Towers. Y'all might be too young to remember Khobar Towers. You remember that bombing? It's pretty horrendous. Bombing of a Allied compound in Saudi Arabia. And this young security forces guy, young captain, 23 years old, single. This is around Christmas time. So he volunteers. He says, I volunteer to go so that a married person with a family doesn't have to. So he goes and deploys. He's a security forces troop, so he's responsible for security inside the compound when that bomb detonates. Bomb detonates, literally lifts him off his feet, throws him back several feet. His ears are bleeding from the concussion, and there's chaos. There's people climbing over the fence, coming in. There's people in the fence going out. There's a specific confusion about what has happened. He knows, though he is responsible for security, he's still dazed in his head. He sees an individual come across the fence, coming into the compound. He's within arm's reach. He grabs him, and he throws him to the ground, handcuffs him to a fire hydrant, and commences to point a weapon in his face. And with a lot of other shouting and screaming. Well, the incident passes. We come back to the United States, and we get a call one day, said that the State Department wants to press charges and court-martial this young man because he was the individual he threw down was a Saudi diplomatic citizen. And so the wing commander comes to me, and as an operations group commander, he comes to me and he says, we're going to have to court-martial this young captain. Stand for what's right. I looked at him and I said, I'm not having any part of it. Now, it could have been it for me. In fact, I came home to my wife that night and I said, well, we may end this career as a colonel in the United States Air Force, but I won't hang my head for it. I said, I'm not having no part of it. I said, looked at the wing commander and I said, can you tell me honestly that you know exactly how you would have behaved under those exact same circumstances? The chaos, the explosion, the injury. Stand for what's right. Could have been it for me, but I was willing to accept that. It's tough, though, when you have 20 years in, 3 kids ready to go to college, big house and the mortgage, and you're faced with that dilemma. What I would tell you is give that some personal thought. Before you're faced with that challenge, give it some personal thought. Give yourself a data point so that if and when it happens to you, you would have at least thought about it before the incident arrives. Do the right thing. Because when it's all said and done and you leave this agency, you leave the government, you leave the workforce, ultimately, you want to like who you see in the mirror. That's really what it's about. Next. Must be able to trust the leadership. Next. Next. Don't procrastinate. Be decisive. Right? Be decisive. You are paid as a leader to make decisions. Will you ever have all the information you need? No, you will not. But you're put in a leadership position because of your experience, and your background. That's how you got to where you are. You have a set of experiences. You have a knowledge base. Take the information you got, bounce it off that experience and that knowledge, and make the decision. You owe it to the people that work for you. They're looking for you to lead. And part of leadership is making a decision when the time comes. There's peacetime leadership and there's crisis leadership. This is peacetime leadership here we're talking about. Make the decision. I guarantee you, when I was with Excelis and ITT Corporation, those are engineering companies. And I'm telling you, when dealing with the engineers, they always want one more study. They want one more analysis. They want little more research. They want to run a few more algorithms. They want to run some more models. Enough is never enough. It's up to you to decide. Make the decision. Are you always going to be right? No. No. I can tell you, you're not going to always be right. But you're paid to make the decisions. And that falls to you as the leader of your team, of your branch, of your division, of your organization. It's up to you. Don't procrastinate. Make your decisions. And then live with the decisions you make. Next. Never let your fear of failure get in the way of success. Because it will. Fear is a tremendous thing. Particularly when you're eager to start that young career and you're starting to climb that ladder. And you want to make sure that folks recognize what you're bringing to the table, what your value is. Don't let your fear of failure get in the way of your success, because it will. Fear can be overwhelming. And I think everybody in here has had an opportunity where you kind of had them butterflies in there and you had perceived in your head how terrible it was going to be to step up in front of somebody or to go and take that next action or to run that next program, and the fear. But then when you get into it, you go, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Right? How many times does that happen? Probably 99% of the time. Don't let your fear of failure get in the way of success. Next. Remember this, the other thing about fear. This is something else that has grown with me over time. And fear will do this if you allow it. It's a powerful emotion to the human body, to the human being. But fear will often lead to anger. You're afraid. You don't like being afraid. And so you get angry about it. Anger is also very, very powerful emotion. Anger then evolves to hate. Hating whatever it was that made you scared in the first place. But hate will ultimately lead to your own personal self-destruction if you're not careful. Food for thought. Next. Don't lose your sense of humor. People are influenced by it more than any other way. And I think Kim's been over to my office a few times. You know how it is in my office, right? We have a good time. It's about keeping people refreshed and keeping down the fear, right? Don't lose your sense of humor. It's okay to be a leader, to be a boss, and be able to laugh, be able to tell a joke. It's okay. They still know you the boss. You don't have to go to somebody and say, I want you to bring me X, Y, and Z right now. You can ask, Mary, when you get a minute, can you bring me X, Y, or Z? I guarantee you, Mary knows you want it. All right, and I guarantee you, in most cases, Mary's going to want to get that off her plate quick as she can get it off her plate. Don't lose your sense of humor. Next. Loyalty is more important down than up. I used to get in discussions with my industry colleagues about this, see? Because industry, their view is loyalty up is all important. There's no such thing as loyalty down. It's loyalty up, right? And so we used to get in these debates about that. In my view, it's more important down. Why? Because the leader, you are, since we have ladies present, we'll say the poop screen. As the leader, you are the poop screen for your people. It shouldn't be flowing onto them. It should stop with you. Loyalty is more important down than it is up. And I guarantee you they know that. They know that. The people that work for you are not stupid. Trust me. They're not. And they know that. They know, hey, look, no matter what happens, I know the boss is going to take the poop for me. When it starts flowing downhill, the boss gets in the way and stops that snowball. More important down than up. Harder to live, though. It's harder to do. Nobody said leadership was easy. It's harder to do. But the rewards make it worthwhile. Next. You have a duty to support your organization. Loyalty down is more important, but you have a duty to support your organization. As long as you get an opportunity to express your point of view, let your interests be known, let your thoughts be considered. In our organization, we have a saying, everybody gets an opportunity to have an input. You have an input. You have an opportunity to convince us to go right or left. Ultimately, the decision is mine, but I get that input. Now, once we've had that dialogue, once we've had that input, once those decisions are made, it's no longer my decision. It is now our decision. Support the organization you've joined. If you can't, if it's an ethical dilemma, if it has something to do with your moral compass, if it has to do with doing right versus wrong, well, then maybe you want to leave that organization. Next. Next. Attitude. Attitude is a hot button with me. I've seen it over and over again. And attitude is the only thing that's 100% of the equation. I see the gears turning out there, right? I see the gears. I see what you're thinking. I see what you're thinking. Prove it, you say. Prove it. All right, let me prove it to you. Let's take the word attitude. Hit the next slide. We're going to assign the letter in the alphabet where each letter falls. So the A would be 1, the 2 T's would be 20 twice, the I would be 5, the T would be 20, the U would be 21, the D would be 4, and the E would be 5. You take those numbers and you add them up. What do they come to? Next slide. There they are. Next. 100%. 100% of the equation is attitude. And I just proved it to you. You asked me. I proved it to you. Now I see over here. I see the gears turning. No, it's not attitude. It's hard work. Oh, he's over here. He's thinking, no. It's knowledge. Try the exercise with those two. Yeah, do that on this. Hit the next slide. There you go. Hard work comes up to about 98%. Knowledge comes up to 96%. Are they important? Yes. But attitude is the only one that's 100%. Positive attitude is infectious in your organization. Trust me on this. If you come in and you're positive and your energy is high every day, so will it infuse in your organization. But if you come in, you've had a rough night, and, oh, geez, I'm feeling bad. Oh, God, I had to talk to somebody. That will permeate your organization as well. You as a leader decide, what do you want? How do you want your organization to be? Next, attitude, 100%. The day people stop bringing you problems is the day you stop leading them. The day they stop bringing you problems is the day you stop leading them. And how many times have you heard leaders say, hey, things are going great. I haven't had anybody bring me any problems in the last month. You might want to think about that. You stop leading them. They've lost your confidence in your ability to conduct your leadership, or that you don't care. Either case is a failure of leadership. Either one. When they stop bringing you problems, you stop leading them. Because everybody in this room knows that the problems never stop. The only thing that might stop is what causes a particular problem. But issues will always arise, whether they are personnel issues, people issues, equipment issues, supplies issues, governance issues, regulatory issues, funding issues. When they stop bringing them to you, you stop leading them. Next. Don't feel insecure or threatened by your followers. I know you've all run across leaders that are truly concerned because they got a young, bright mind coming about there, and it's like, ooh, if I give them too much responsibility, they're going to show me up. They'll be having my job. That's what you should be doing, is grooming your replacement, because nobody stays forever. Don't feel insecure or threatened by your followers. Embrace it. Next. Bring disagreeing parties together to work through differences, with you guiding the dialogue. Real world example, I'm the Vice President for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance up in Rochester, New York, ITT Corporation. And we are responsible for, we build highly technical sensors that go on to some pretty sophisticated satellite systems. And we're talking about payloads in excess of some $15 billion with a B. So they're pretty sensitive systems. When it comes to satellite and satellite imagery, it's all about the light, right? So you got to have a big mirror to collect that light for that telescope that's going to be in space. That mirror can be anywhere from 3 meters in diameter, weigh over 600 pounds. Based on what the requirement is, you have to put certain coatings on those mirrors, depending upon what it is you want to see. So I get up there, and the customer, the government customer, is extremely upset, dissatisfied, because the organization has put the wrong coating on one of those mirrors. Now, the impact of that, hundreds of thousands of dollars and delays in schedule to delivery. Bring disagreeing parties together. So in this scenario, I ended up having to sit down with the quality control person and the program manager. And the issue became, between these two, you find was personal. One was male, one was female. You find that 3 years prior, the female had said something to the male that he took personal, egregious offense to. Now remember, this was 3 years ago, right? But it was never dealt with. And as a result, for the last 3 years, they have not worked together very well, and now it's flowing over into production. So we had to have one of those talks. And so I sat down with them together, and then I had them come in individually. I said, okay, so what's the issue? And they explained the scenario. The male explained the scenario. And to the point, serious, to the point that he got red-faced and began to tear up. in the meeting. This is an incident that happened 3 years ago, right? Hadn't gotten over yet because it hadn't been dealt with. I called in the female, sat down with her, and she was shocked, had no idea that what she had said had caused this kind of angst, grief, and anxiety for this individual. No idea. And when I started talking to her about it to the extent, and then actually she began to cry because she didn't realize that somebody felt about her that way. So we worked our way through that, had them both together, talked about me as kind of the mediator, if you will, you, guiding the dialogue. And when we came out of that, we came out with a mended relationship. Now, they weren't going to be barbecuing at each other's house for a while. That wasn't going to happen. But they had a respect for each other that they could work together. You got to take the lead as the leader. Bring them together, work the differences, guide the dialogue, and don't take sides. Did I say that? Don't take sides. Stand by what is right, and it will naturally flow. Next. Always, always, praise in public, admonish in private. Joe Sixpack was marvelous, did a great job, accomplished X, Y, and Z. We're going to give him an award. When mischief or misbehavior occurs behind closed doors, one-on-one. Praise in public, admonish in private. It goes to respect. Next. If things go well, the team did it. Never I. And I know you have leaders that say, well, I accomplished this in my tenure. I did this in my time in the job. Here's what I did while I was there. As a leader, you do very little by yourself. Very little by yourself. The rule in my organization is if you prepare anything written for me, never use I. It's always we. Congratulate subordinates if it goes good. If it goes bad, it's you. You're the leader of the organization. The buck stops with you. Plain and simple. Next one. Don't be afraid of opposing points of view. Opposing points of view are a good thing. They allow you to examine every side of an issue, every side of an equation, every angle that you might not be thinking about. Don't be afraid of opposing points of view. You're still the leader. You're still the decision maker. But opposing points of view make you think in areas that you may not have thought of before. Don't be afraid of opposing points of view. Encourage them. Encourage them. Because maybe they can convince you to take a different direction. How many out there know that have worked for or know somebody that don't want to hear opposing points of view? Don't want to hear alternatives. You're killing or hurting your own organization by doing that. Because remember what we said earlier. There are those out there that may be smarter, brighter, have a new way of doing it. But if you don't encourage opposing points of view, you'll never hear it. Next one. Encourage subordinates to come up with new ideas and then try them. How many, you remember those suggestion boxes and the suggestion things and these web things they do now for idea webs or whatever? They're all good programs, but only if you try them. And it won't take long for your subordinates in your organization to recognize that, hey, I came up with a great idea, but they never did anything with it. How long do you think it'll take from there to, I didn't know you was putting in no idea, they aren't going to do anything with it? It's a pretty short string. Encourage new ideas. Use that young brain power you got out there, the experience base you got out there. But then go try it. Is there room for failure? Yeah, probably be more failures than successes. But that's okay. In industry, they say fail fast and fail often. Next. Never set up anyone for failure. Ensure everybody's got the skills they need. And then develop them. Remember we talked about knowing strengths and weaknesses? Understand those weaknesses. And then develop them into strengths. Next. Keep looking below the surface's appearances. Don't shrink from doing so just because you might not like what you find. How many have ever heard, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Recipe for failure. You're afraid to peel back the layer to look to see what you might find that needs fixing. It's the banner of complacency in my mind. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Recipe for failure and complacency. You should always be looking for better, smarter, more efficient ways to do things. Because the evolution and the pace of change far exceeds mental capacity to grasp and stop it. Next. Don't dwell on mistakes. I do 3 things with mistakes. First, you fix what the hell you broke. Then you learn from it. And then you get on about getting business done. Plain and simple. 3 things. I don't care who made the mistake. I don't need to know the name. I don't need to know what part of the organization made it. It's not relevant. Fix what you broke. Learn from it and get on about doing business. You know, I walked out of a seminar once. They had set us up a seminar for these, these 7-step kind of efficiency things, Covey kinds of things, where they talk through how to be more efficient and all that, right? Remember that? Some of y'all may have done some of that. And I started off in the seminar, and the guy gets up there and he says, listen, I'm going to tell you how to manage your workforce. He says, you get a 3x5 card box, see? Or you set up a folder on your computer, and you put all of your people's names in there, in a file. And every time they do something wrong, you put it in the file. And then you can manage their performance. I said, wait a minute. You got to be S-ing me, right? You got to be. You want me to spend time and effort tracking problems that people are having? How about we track their successes? How about we track the good stuff they're doing? I got up and walked out of the seminar. Truly did. I said, because you don't have that to teach me, man. You're killing me. Don't dwell on mistakes. Do 3 things. Next. Surround yourself with people that tell it straight. You need people that work for you that will tell you when you, the emperor, don't have on any clothes. You need to know that. You need somebody to tell you that. If they think you are wrong, if they think you're going left when you should go right, these are the people you want working for you. If you are surrounding yourself, which many leaders do, they surround themselves with yes people, right? Yes men and yes women. Yeah, boss, greatest idea. Yeah, boss, whatever you want to do, we're going to make that happen. Yeah, boss, I know what you're thinking. I'm already here. You're right. If you surround yourself with yes people, somebody's redundant. Just going to say it. Somebody's redundant. You need people around you that's going to tell it straight. To tell you perhaps some things that are unpleasant. Some things maybe that you don't want to hear. But that you need to hear. You're still the boss. You're still the leader. You're still the decision maker. But now you've got another piece of data upon which to make that decision. Next. Listen, listen, listen. I can't tell you how important this is. But I know most of you are thinking you listen with your ears. And that's true. You do listen with your ears. That's a skill, too, you got to learn to do well. But that's not all you listen with. If you're going to be effective, you have to listen with your eyes. You have to listen with your emotions. You have to listen with your intuition. When you walk into an organization, when you walk into an office, and you feel There's some uncomfortable discord in here. You do that with your feelings. You do that kind of thing with your eyes. You do that with, you're walking down the hall in an organization and nobody's smiling. Nobody is smiling in the organization. Listen with your eyes. Something's not right. You have to listen with all your senses if you are to be effective. Learning to listen with your ears and what that skill takes, important. You need to do that. But learn to listen with your eyes, with your feelings, with your intuition. The human animal has them all. Use them if you are to be effective. Next. Next. Adversity. What do you do in times of adversity? That is what's going to be the measure of what kind of leader you turn out to be. Because when things are going great and good and wonderful, hey, it's easy to be a good leader, right? It's in times of adversity where you find what you're truly made of, what your core is about, what kind of leader you truly are. Next. Bottom line. This was actually said over 2,000 years ago. The lesser person does what pays. The better person does what's right. Confucius said that over 2,000 years ago. It's just as true then as it is today. And pay can be any number of things. It don't mean money necessarily. It can be a promotion. It can be another job. It can be a new position, a new organization. Pay can be any number of things. That's what I want you to take from today. The lesser person does what pays. It's the better person that does what's right. And doing what's right is tough sometimes. But that's what you buy into as a leader. Next. Okay, so my dear mother was fond of a poem by Rudyard Kipling called If. We were raised on it, on this poem, and the interesting thing about it is that there are great correlations to this poem and how we live as leaders and as adults. So if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. How many of you experienced scenarios where it's either a crisis or somebody's fuse is burning short and everybody is running around with their hair on fire and ready to blame you? I'm sure many of you have. So go to the next one. This is how I interpret that. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Next. But make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good or talk too wise. Next. Be patient. Don't deal in lies. Don't act better than anybody else. You're a leader. You run the organization. But you're not any better than anyone else. Next. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. Next. Never give up fighting the good fight. Never give up fighting for what's right, for what you believe in. It's an ongoing struggle. It's an ongoing fight. You'll win some, you'll lose some, but never give up the fight. Next. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve you long after they're gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. Next. Positive energy is a force multiplier. Next. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance, run. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. Next. Give the best you have to give. Every day, all day, to those that work with and for you. Next. All right. So I'm often asked, hey, what do you read? You know, here's some of the stuff that I've read and that I read through. You know, there's a multitude of stuff out there that you can read. This might give you a start if you don't have your own library going. I get a lot of questions about why Sun Tzu, The Art of War for business or other government. The tenets that are in there are relevant, whether it is industry, whether it is the military, or whether it's other government service. And if you read it, you'll see the correlations, right? So that's why that's up there. Okay, next. Here's a continuation, some other things. Okay, those are my thoughts. I hope you found some of them useful. If not, it's absolutely okay.
So I just wanted to say there were 116 people on the line, and they were chatting constantly about how wonderful your talk was. They were just chatting amongst themselves. So thank you very much. That was great, and I think a lot of people learned a lot from you today. And I know on the line we had people not just from HHS, but I think there was people from OMB and Small Business Administration, and a lot from FAA and from Treasury, and Department of Justice. So there are a lot of people listening in today. So thank you very much. And we have gone over time, but if you guys have any questions in the room, and then if you're on the webinar, you can also chat in questions as well. I'm not sure how much time you have, but
if my time is your time. Good afternoon.
Do you want to take a couple questions?
Sorry, we went long. You didn't tell me I was running over.
I didn't want to stop you, so it's so great. But in the room, is there anyone that has any questions? Don't be shy. Jill, and definitely use your microphone. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Jill. One of the things that is tough in government service to me has been that fine line between management and leadership. Although you might want to lead, you are required to do management stuff like the PMAPs and bringing it down from the, bringing your vision down to a practical. Do you have any tips on that? On walking that line?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to do those things, whatever your agency requires, but it still doesn't affect your personal ability to lead those that you interface with, your colleagues, and those that work for you. You can still make those decisions yourself about how you interact and how you lead. Okay.
There is one question here. So a common question I get is this: how does one survive or work around a leader who does not embody what our speaker spoke of?
That is a challenge there. A couple of things you can do there, right? You can look to move into another line of business within your organization. You can talk to a mentor that you have in your organization and allow them to intercede on your behalf. That's actually happened to me since I've been back in the FAA. And in many cases, that supervisor will take that feedback differently from one of his or her colleagues than they would from a subordinate. So that's another way you can tackle it. And then finally is and this is a tougher one, but getting time on their schedule to sit down with a one-on-one discussion with them and honestly tell them what the issue are that you have. So those are a couple of options of ways you might deal with that.
Thank you. And I had one more here about, it says the comment about, and sorry, they're coming in so quickly, it's actually moving on my screen. Hold on one second. So the comment about not speaking too wise, please comment more. I went to a school that was not encouraged or something. I went to a school that was encouraged, sorry. So a comment about not speaking too wise.
It's just a matter of the impression that you lend to others, whether you think that you're the smartest guy in the room or woman in the room all the time, every time, that an issue arises. That's what we're getting at, right? Because nobody is. Nobody is. You know, you might be on the spot today, tomorrow on tomorrow's issue, maybe not so much. So that's what I'm getting. It's lending that impression that you know, a know-it-all, right? Speaking too wise all the time. So that's what we're talking about, being a know-it-all.
I just wanted to mention one other comment. In 26 years of public service, I have never heard anything so remarkable and relevant on leadership. So you have a lot of very positive comments coming in. Thank you so much. Any other questions in the room?
Thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Thanks,
everyone. Oh, there's one other question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sir, I just wanted to say thank you very much. There were so many wonderful jewels and nuggets that I gleaned from your speech, but I just want to thank you for the value added and for sharing the years of experience, and you saved me some time if I can just take a couple of these and activate them today. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you all. This is my first time over here at HSS. You guys only have Snickers bar and water, so I don't know if I'm coming back. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.